week there will be 3 segments. We're going to talk about what's the latest in the news, what rumors are going on, what are you hearing, and what construes a rumor in that topic. And then our last one's going to be something about the facts, just the facts.
Just the facts, ma'am.
So one of the things we're hearing so much about is school starting back up, higher education starting back, all of the things that are going on. So what are the facts about the education and what's going on in this country with going back to school?
Well, as you know, I'm in addition to my many roles, I'm a professor and an associate dean, and I track enrollment at our own school very carefully. We, at the last minute, were switched to online until September 20th. Many of our classes will be online for the whole semester. And I'm looking forward to returning to the classroom right now. Last I heard, for my 2 in-classroom classes, that date would be Monday, September 21st. So I'm waiting to see if that's actually going to happen.
Yes.
And so we've had some false starts in North Carolina, in Georgia. There have been some very well-known schools that went back in mid-August. And had some surges. So part of the problem is that with regard to college and higher education, first of all, this is not an even situation. There are ways to control access to colleges. There are ways to have more orderly enrollment in dormitories and things like that. I talked to a colleague of mine in South Dakota, and they are back in the classroom full on. And it doesn't look too bad. The students are required to wear a mask. The faculty are required to wear a mask while they're teaching, but they're full on in the classroom. And I think many Central American, Central Midwestern universities and places in lower population centers will be able to return in classroom and be okay. Where I see the problem is some of these big party schools, unfortunately, and big football schools, that they have not controlled, and the students have not appreciated the magnitude or the severity of the problem. And I know some universities are putting in saying, look, we're going to bring you back to campus, but you guys have got to play along with us. You've got to wear your mask. You've got to socially distance. No 100 people in a bar designed for 50 people, or big gatherings like that. So I think that we're going to sort this out a little bit over the next few weeks. But I do expect that by the end of the semester, I think most of our major higher education institutions that are set up to come back into the classroom will do so, and will do so safely. Now, regarding sports has been very spotty. Some of the sports have said they're going to come back. Other sports have said that they're going to delay until the spring or lose whole seasons. Some of my concerns there include the fact that if they're student athletes and they have athletic scholarships, I'm concerned about the school's contract with the athlete. So are they going to ship these students away from school because they didn't qualify for the scholarship, because they didn't play the sport this season? And I don't confront that at the school I'm at, because we're in a division in the NCAA that does not permit athletic scholarships. So our students have to be scholar athletes, as we say. And I came out of the Ivy League. Ivy League does not allow athletic scholarships either. So I'm used to that in my early college days. So I think at higher ed is going to sort it out, and we're going to make that work over time. Most of the schools are planning to stop having classes by Thanksgiving, including my own, at least on campus. The rationale behind that is the original prediction for COVID is we weren't expecting the bounce this summer. We were expecting this thing to be pretty flat over the summer into this fall. And then when we got to the colder weather and people started being closed in, that it would arise. So we're still on that calendar. So again, we had the terrible spike over the summer, which, by the way, does appear to be very consistently abating. pretty much throughout the United States, as many people predicted. And a couple things about that is we still have a lot of younger people. It is true that very young people can get COVID-19. It is true college students could get COVID-19. However, and I heard a medical expert on this in the last 48 hours respond to that question and say, when you have younger people, their immune systems are in better condition. Their bodies are in better condition in most cases, again, excluding the person with an autoimmune disorder that kicks in early. Very few people have autoimmune disorders even before age 30 or 40. So the point is, though, is the vast majority of your population, from your little people, your pre-K, through college, the risk factors are still relatively low. So let's be careful. Let's bring them back. One of the things that I've observed, because I have little grandchildren, is we cannot help these children learn if they're locked up in their houses. And my little grandson went to pre-K camp this summer, and for a couple of weeks, and he was just so energized by playing with other little people his size and interacting with those kids and all that. And that learning experience, that interacting experience, is extremely valuable. And we cannot recreate that online. We cannot recreate that by locking them up at home. The other problem that I see, and it's interesting because one of the other trends that I track is housing, and there is a exodus from American cities. And one of the discussions is Americans are looking for bigger houses. So they're moving suburban and rural to get to bigger houses. Part of that driver is they're spending more time in their houses. But it was interesting because I was watching a news report about a month ago, and this so-called education expert was saying, well, here's what we need. And this lady was in a very pristine little room, and it had a very pristine little desk sitting in the middle of it with a nice pristine little chair and a little laptop computer and one little lamp. And she said, isn't this terrific? This is what you need for your child to participate in education online. And, I'm sitting there, and now granted, I came from a large family. I'm the oldest of 7 children. We had the 3 boys in one bedroom and 4 girls in the other bedroom. I don't think we had one workspace like that across the 7 of us. Now, the normal American family today is 2 or 3 children, the ones that have kids in school. I don't think most American families have 3 workspaces, 1 for each child, which is what this this so-called education expert was supposedly talking about. So I think that, overall considerations, we need to get our kids back in school. I think the little kids overall really need to be back in school. I think we can do some things with the high school kids and maybe have them rotate out. But by golly, we got to think of something to do with them, because one of the things I will tell you is when you got little teenagers out there with the hormones going, we're going to have all sorts of weird things happening out there. Teenage pregnancy, which has largely been under control lately. I'm not making any predictions on that one for the future, but we do need to make sure there are alternative activities for these folks. And of course, some of those activities included high school sports and things like that, and high school activities, which are suspended or postponed. And so perhaps the safest place for them is to be in the classroom and maybe provide some special classes, some enhancement classes that maybe are not traditional high school courses, but teaching people how to cook. Home ec has largely disappeared from high schools. Teaching them how to do woodworking, another skill that's disappeared from a typical American high school, and maybe do some things like that so that we keep these kids active and involved and safe.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, because I know there's been a lot written, and there's probably some huge statistics on the importance of a social life in a person,
Absolutely.
a young person. So, so yes. I totally agree with that. I think that we don't want to see what could happen if kids have no social life. So thank you for that, David, because whatever age, whether they are little people like you were talking about your grandson, I have little people, grandchildren, as well as teenage grandchildren, and all of them are very social as far as, their interaction with other people. I think it's amazing. I think it's really important that takes place in their lives. So thank you. Very good. David, you are amazing. How you keep up with all of this and do everything that you do is just amazing. So thank you for being so generous as to share your thoughts, your all that's going on with you and all of this. Thank you for sharing that. And remember what he has shared previously in his book, The Decline of America. Get your copy today on Amazon and study what did Woodrow Wilson do? What crisis did he face? Who else faced a pandemic? There's been others before. What did those presidents do? So all the way from Woodrow Wilson to Barack Obama, here's The Decline of America. So David has graded them each one. Nobody made an A. I'll give you a little clue. So get it, research it, see what other presidents did in the face of a pandemic, in the face of racial injustice and racial violence, in the face of protesting. They've all dealt with it before. So go read and see what they did about it and make up your mind for the election coming up in a couple of months. And what do we have to look forward to for next week?
Let's say I was just thinking about that. I haven't really talked about that, but I think we'll talk about international relations. There has been some consistent commentary from the media that Trump has damaged America's relations around the world. And so we're going to talk about foreign relations and the United States and specifically the Trump administration.
So David, thanks again. Look forward to next week. And if you are watching this on Facebook Live or you're on YouTube, wherever you're watching the video, please subscribe and send us a comment and send us some questions if you have something you'd specifically like Dr. Schein to talk about on the next Saving America.